2020. And then before that, I sucked at all of it. Like all of that was not good at.
You recently invested over $1,000. You had us come out. Was it worth it?
Oh, man.
All right, Russell, welcome to the Influencers Podcast, man. Dude, so excited to have you on the show. Finally, we've been talking about having you on for probably a couple months now.
It's been a while.
And so, dude, welcome. Dude, one of my favorite things before I kind of give you the reins here, one of my favorite things about you, bro, is like, I feel like when I look at your social media, it looks like you're closing a deal every week, dude. And I'm like, it's like, that's cool. I don't know if it's true. Maybe it's the social media perception, but at the same time, I'm like, it's working,
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, it's awesome to see that, bro. But the other thing too, is like, I feel like when I see your closings and I see the people you work with, it's like family, it's like friends,
100%.
And so, welcome to the show, dude.
Man, I appreciate it.
My first question to you, bro, is why real estate, dude?
It wasn't something that I planned to get into.
Yeah.
I didn't know before I got into real estate. I didn't even know a realtor.
No, really?
I had no idea.
What?
Nope.
Okay.
Never even thought about it.
Wow.
I was stuck in a corporate job, and that was awful.
What were you doing?
I was a property tax analyst for a big financial company in downtown Fort Worth.
Wow.
And you're on the 39th, 40th floor. You're just hammering away, 3 screens in front of you. There's barely any, sunlight in the building. And you did that from, start to finish. And I did that for probably a year, and that was right out of college. And my wife was, I just told her, I was like, hey, this culture, it's awful. I mean, it sucks. Like I was like just depressed during the day, and they just hammer you with more work. They're like, hey, come on the weekend, right? Come on, get some more work. I was like, no, I'm not about that. She was like, you know what, you should get into real estate. I was like, doing what? Be a realtor. I didn't even know really even what it was. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
Quit the job and left, and the rest is history.
The rest is history, bro.
Yeah,
So,
man.
okay. So you've been in real estate. We were just talking about this earlier. 6 years, right?
Coming up, completing the 6th year, going into 7.
Okay. So you started before the whole COVID stuff. You know? And then
I did.
Obviously you rode that wave.
Yes.
But what's cool, bro, is like, okay, so obviously after COVID, right? So like 2023, 2024, interest rates like go crazy through the roof.
Yes.
But what happens too is like a lot of real estate just start dropping off, like just like dead flies, because they had no weight, no foundation in their business. And so, but what's cool, bro, is like, I feel like I see you closing, like people were closing back in the day. And so like, what did you do? Like, how did you get to that place, to be able to close like this right now?
Well, first off, when you get into the game, agents are like, hey, cold call or door knock, farm a neighborhood, call expired listings, go after people who are divorced. I'm like, okay. I sucked at all of it. Like all of that was not good at. So I was like, I'll just turn to social media, see what happens there, because all those avenues were not working.
Yeah.
And so went really heavy on Facebook, went really heavy on Instagram, because before real estate, I think I posted on Instagram a couple times, and that was it.
Wow.
I don't know, maybe 30 followers or something.
Yeah, just family stuff, random stuff.
Random stuff. And not even Facebook. I didn't really post that much.
Wow.
It was just kind of look.
Yeah.
I went heavy on both of those. I made sure that people knew like what I was doing. I was posting showings with clients, insight into the market, all those things. And I made sure to like, my goal was like to keep a story up, like a Facebook story and Instagram story up every day.
That's cool.
And I've almost done that till now. I mean, there's a couple days that hit or miss.
Yeah.
But, that way people see you. And I tell that to new agents, you want people to see you. And I was like, what's your social media look like?
Yeah.
What's that game look like? And they're like, it's okay. I'm like, well, people don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
People don't know you.
Exactly.
Right? You're not Walmart or, Nike and advertising.
But dude, you know what's crazy about that? You say that. And I was literally just having a conversation with someone, and it was like crazy because we were talking about marketing.
Yeah.
And bro, like you still see marketing from like these big companies that you mentioned, like for example, Disney, like they're marketing their most recent movie release, Like, if the big companies are doing it, how does that excuse the little people like us from not marketing, you know,
Exactly.
like I'm like, it's so backwards with the way people think, where it's like, no, we should be showing up. Like I tell people, you should be unapologetic about the fact that you're showing up every day, you know, because it's like, hey,
100%.
I got to eat. My family's got to eat, you know, and this is a way where I'm like, one, I'm showing you what I can bring, you know, and it's not like you're just selling people. We're not these like used car salespeople, you know,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
I would get canceled, you know, no, but it's like, you're not like we're not sleazy salespeople, you know, it's like,
Yes.
sales are okay. They're a good thing. Like you're literally offering someone like value in exchange for, you know, compensation. And so it's the same thing with like, with what we do, right? With media and stuff. It's like, hey, I'm offering you this media, this solution for your content, for your marketing, that in return is going to give you more exposure, is going to build trust with your clients, and hopefully at some point get you more deals, you know?
100%.
And so I love what you were talking about right there, where it's like, man, you have the opportunity to show up and market. And so, okay, so we were talking about, one of the things that I mentioned is like, it feels like your clients are like family, dude. So how did you build that? How did you, like, I feel like all these people that you close with, bro, like, yeah, maybe some of them were coming from social media that you don't know very well, or maybe had some acquaintance relationship with them. How did you like build this thing where you're like, they feel like family and they feel like friends, like you've known them forever,
it's
you
like
know?
a family
So
machine.
yeah, dude.
It was just, you know, you start working with family and friends, right? I worked that sphere, and then it just kind of grew to where it was, you know, family, friends, and this, and like, because now all it is referral based. You know, I don't pay for leads like other agents.
That's awesome.
I'm not doing anything to reach out to, you know, just randos like, hey, would love to help you sell your house, you know, in Decatur, just randomly. And that's the way I want it to be, because I find it more enjoyable, because I see agents running the gauntlet of, you know, chasing leads, chasing business. Not to be brash or anything, but the business comes to me now.
That's good,
right? So I don't have to go out there and chase the business. It comes to me because I've built the machine of referral base. I let people know everything is referral based. I want to work with your friends. I want to work with your family. I want to work with, you know, people that I know and that I enjoy working with, you know, because agents who are, you know, chasing business, you know, sometimes they don't want to work with the clients that they're working with because they're not good people, but they're like, I need that money. Right. Well, I can put those aside and work with people that I like to work with. Dude. So that's how I've built it, and that's how I want to do it.
Yeah, dude, I love that. Okay, because that connects with like building your brand online, right? So like a lot of people are like, I don't want to show up on social media. I don't want to show my face because I feel like people might reject me. And I'm like, that's good, because if someone rejects you before you ever get to meet them, then you never, we're supposed to work with them, you know? But then the people that do like you and do want to work with you, those are going to be the best experiences. Like, 100%, you know, in my opinion, dude, there was this one time where crazy story in real estate was like, this is back in the day, you know, I was doing a lot of real estate, bro. Like I went to go, this is when we were getting leads, right? And I was getting a referral from our company that we used to work with. And you don't get to meet the people. You just talk on the phone, you just text, you know? So I show up, and it was like, I thought it was fine. I showed her a couple houses in Mesquite. And I was like, cool, I'll see you tomorrow. Dude, I get ghosted. And I was like, okay. So either one, she just didn't want to buy a house, or two, she definitely didn't like me after she saw me, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things where at first it kind of like stung, you know? And I was like, man, these people, dude, I had to drive a whole hour away, didn't have the audacity to tell me like, hey, I'm sorry, it's not going to work out, you know?
Yeah. But
then I was like, honestly, it worked out for me, you know why? Because I got to post on my stories. I had to show people, like, I'm like, hey, I'm out here showing houses.
What you're doing. That's exactly what I do. Anytime I get a chance to do that, you know, make a quick reel, because, you know, like I've had other agents come with me like, hey, you know, you can come to an open house, or you can come to showings and see how it is. And, you know, before showing starts, or, you know, in the middle, depending on what they're doing, do a quick reel or, you know, a quick story. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, we're out here working. Let people know you're working, right? I mean, all the big companies do it. Everybody's selling you something, right? And I try not on my social medias to come off as, you know, like pressure sales or anything like that. I just tell people like, this is what I do for a living. I'd love to work with you. You know, give you some insights into the market and things like that, and just kind of come on the journey. And people have reached out and they're like, your content's entertaining. I just like to watch you. And then they'll reach out like, hey, we're ready to buy. So we knew who to come to because it looks enjoyable.
That's awesome.
I'm like, there we go.
Yeah, dude.
It's worked then.
Dude, there's so much right there that you just said. Even just like the fact that when people see you doing what you're doing and the fact that you look like you love what you're doing, bro, like who doesn't want to work with someone like that? Like, would you rather work with someone that's like miserable about their job, shows up, is like looking like a hot mess, you know, and like they just barely got to that showing, you know, Starbucks is spilled all over the car, you know, it's like this, you could tell there's chaos in that morning.
Yeah.
Or would you rather show up where it's like someone that's like on their stories is like, hey, I'm here, top of the morning, you know, showing this beautiful house. And it's like, dude, you obviously
it's more welcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a surprise that more agents don't do it. And I get it. You know, some of the agents are older and they're just like, hey, this is super foreign to me putting my face out there because now I do it as, you know, I'll record a video. I don't even think about it, throw it out there. I don't, that, you know, rejection, that just doesn't pop in my mind. If somebody is not going to like it, they're not going to like it, you know, but you get these, you know, back end messages of what a great video. Hey, this was awesome. Cool. Love to watch that. Like, you know, you're funny, and I just watch it for the, you know, for the hell of it.
Dude, that's awesome.
You know, so
dude, obviously it sounds like you've built a pretty strong business, you know, for the last 6 years where you've dealt with, obviously there's a lot of ups and downs, you know, in real estate, but I mean, you started before it spiked, and then you survived, you know, or I would say you thrived, you know, throughout that whole COVID era. And then, you know, you're still crushing it right now, even before rates come down, like you're still doing well, you know? And it's like, I love that. And one of the things you mentioned earlier was like how in that span of like almost 6 years, like there was a time where you took 7 months off, right? To be with your firstborn. Is that right?
Yeah. We just, you know, we had our son, you know, in 2022, and that was our first. And, you know, I worked throughout those months, but not a lot, you know.
I
was like
building. You were just like,
nope. I was just kind of maintaining a little bit here and there. I wanted to focus on my son, be with my wife, because that was a really special time for us. Because my wife, she was off work, and I was like, you know what?
That's cool.
We have the opportunity to just kind of chill, and we did that, right? That's so awesome, in 2022, it was just like a gap year, right? For like a college kid. But it was definitely worth it. And then, like you said, you know, 2020, and then before that, like, you know, my first year I only sold 3 deals. Yeah. That was it the whole year. I sold 2 in the very first start of the year in March. It didn't come around till November, the next one. So I tell people, like, because people all the time, they're like, hey, you know, I see you crushing on social media or other agents. What do you, you know, it just looks like I was like, it wasn't like this before, right? Like first year, start somewhere, 3 deals. And they're like, 3, that's it? I said, that's it. Yeah. Like it was tough sledding at first.
It's crazy, you know, dude. It's like, it reminds me of when, like, I tell the story of people, like, people always ask me, like, hey, how much do you charge for videos? Like, other videographers or companies, you know, that are wanting to be in the media space, they're like, how much do you charge for videos? How much should we charge for videos? And then I always tell them, I'm like, you know, I started charging $100 for these real estate shoots just so that I could get my name in there, just so that I could get my portfolio built out. And it's like, if you're willing to do that, I think you'll be okay. And then you always tell your clients, like, hey, let me give you a homie discount so that way we can help each other out. I'll give you an awesome video. You give me feedback. I'll grow with you. But then once we get to that place where it's like, hey, you know, like, you know, you're getting a lot of value for that $100, we're going to raise it up a little bit, you know? Yeah. And everybody that I worked with, like, that I did that to, I mean, they're still around. I still work for them, you know? And it's like the value of, like, you put in the work up front, right? Like sometimes you're going to get the 3 deals, you know, dude. Like when I first started real estate, bro, my first deal came like 6 months after I got my license. And I was with a broker that was like a 50-50 split.
Oh, see.
So that hurt, dude. Yes. And so that was the one and only deal I did with them. And I was like, I'm gone.
Like, I'm not doing this anymore.
I'm going to 100% brokerage, you know? It's like, there's no way. But it was just crazy how, like, you know, you obviously built this thing where it's like, you had the opportunity to take, like, I think a lot of people didn't capture that. It's like, you had the opportunity to take, like, your wife's not working. You were the only one that was working at that time, to take 7 months and just be like, hey, work here and there. But dude, like, you built something where you worked hard before, and then now you're still working hard and building it. And it's like, hey, it created this opportunity for you to be able to, like, take a step back and be like, hey, I'm gonna chill.
It's good. Yeah, that's what that's what I'm, it's kind of the same thing now. It's kind of what I'm trying to align to is where, people are like, what is success to you? Yeah. Success is to be able to just kind of, I don't know, random Thursday or whatever, wake up, take the kids to school, not have to do anything.
That's cool, dude.
That's success to me.
Dude, I'm gonna ask you some crazy questions, okay? And then
let's go.
So, okay, so what was your, what, estimating, how many houses do you think you've closed on?
Since I started?
Yeah.
Minus the first 3 in the first year. Now it's probably over 100.
Yeah.
Cool. So over 100 for sure. You've got some off market ones that
I'm sure. Yeah.
I can't remember, but
probably new builds. The biggest thing that hits me is like I look at my numbers and I'm like, there's a lot of new builds that aren't.
And I try to focus on that heavily too. New builds and then just off market. Like people don't know, hey, I've got investors that I personally know and work with that, if you're one of those people that are like, hey, we just want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
We'll help you.
That's cool.
That's great. So I'd say, over 100 for sure.
Dude, that's awesome.
It's hard to wrap your mind around that because it's like, it's a lot of people, a lot of deals at, 30 days a piece. And
it's a lot, dude. That's a lot of deals. That's awesome. Dude, I love that. Your best month, what was that? Do you remember your best month?
Best month. Like total volume.
Total volume and maybe even units,
The units, I think the best month was probably last year, I think.
Dude, that's crazy in 2024.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was I think it was September, October. It was something like 8 or 10 houses in the month.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's crazy in 2024.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Hey, real quick, I hope you're enjoying this conversation as much as I am. As you've been watching my videos, maybe you've been asking yourself, how can I make my videos look this good? Well, Elite Media is a full media and production company where we offer to shoot your content at our curated studio here locally in Fort Worth or at your preferred location where we will bring our professional equipment to level up your videos. Maybe you're looking to set up your own space. Well, we actually help you source, order, and set up your space with the best gear to get you that same professional look every single time, all for a one-time cost. If you're interested in learning more information, you can find out how to reach us in the show notes or the description below. Enjoy the rest of the show.
I did that. I didn't do that much. I did 7 during COVID when COVID hit, April. And I was like, dude, that was a lot, But the volume now was probably way higher than it was back then, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's
crazy. And that's what I tell, I always tell new agents or whoever, there's opportunity in every market, right? Yeah. Like you just got to find the opportunity. I mean, in 2020, it was, everything's selling like hotcakes. You could, it's not tough, right? And then rates shot up and people even that I knew that I came into the business with, they were gone. They're like, hey, I don't do real estate no more.
They don't do it anymore,
And I was like, damn. Okay.
It's tough, dude.
So
real estate is a grind, bro.
100%. And I don't think people will understand that because some people are like, I mean, you do some marketing and you post on social, like everything you do is kind of gravy. I'm like, but the thing is, what people forget is like when I'm working with a client, I'm like, hey, we will sell your house or I'll help you buy a house. Mm-hmm. Typical transactions, 30 to 45 days. Mm-hmm. People forget that, you're working with that person. And some people don't want to say they admit it, but you're working for that person 24/7 through 30 to 45 days. Yeah. People will call you, text you in the morning, at night, and they won't admit it, but they expect you to answer.
Yeah.
Right? I've got people that text me 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. What do you think of this house? What do you think? Can we see this tomorrow? Yeah. And it's like, for 30 to 45 days, you are on call, basically.
Yeah. And you kind of have to sometimes start looking into those texts right away because it's like, if you win in the morning, you have to schedule it out. Yeah. You have to do all that stuff.
And that's just what sometimes it bugs me, but because people are just like, oh, real estate don't do much, but you're on call for 30 to 45 days because people will tell you, hey, I'm going to send you this house. I want you to read it. Dude. I want it to be scheduled in the next 24 hours, yada, yada, yada. And obviously not everybody's like that, but there are people that expect that. And you're like, this is what real estate is.
Bro,
people
that's
just
so true.
On demand.
Yeah. It's so crazy because what's your work schedule is let's say, you're a real estate agent, you're working, whatever your hours that you set for yourself are 9 to 5 every day, right? Well, the person that you're helping, they have a day job, right? And they're working 9 to 5, but they can't text you during that time because they're working.
Yep. Bingo.
And so then they get off and you're like, okay, I'm going to go home with my family. And they're like, now they're home chilling, you know, texting you like, hey, I want to look at this house. Hey, any questions about this? I mean, dude, like every real estate deal that I would have to do was like, hey, I'm going to go to the closet real quick, take this call, you know?
Yeah.
With the kids screaming in the back and stuff like that. It's like, sometimes you have to, because that's when people
And that's what a lot of people don't see. Yeah. I mean, people see me on social, they see me on the stories and reels, and they're like, man, he's just out there having a good ass time. He's, you know, he's got his drone and he's, you know, filming and stuff. But the grind is everything after the contract. It's like you said, stepping out, you know, the kids are there. You got to make a call, you know. Wife's like, it's 9:30. What is somebody calling you for? Oh, well, you know, he wants to ask a question about the deal or ask a question about a house. And she's like, what do you mean? It's 9:30. But people expect that. But that's what a lot of people do not get that, you know, insight into is real estate is a 24/7 grind, whether you like it or not. It's just how you handle it, you know, because people think, oh, he just works a couple hours a day.
It's like, no. All the driving, everything, all the phone calls. Like
the driving,
dude, sometimes you have to deal with the knucklehead agent on the other side of the transaction, you know?
Yes.
And it's more often than not, bro. Like
you do have that.
I did real estate in Arizona. And when I moved to Texas and I started doing real estate out here, bro, dude, it was a culture shock. Like the agents in Arizona, so helpful. So like,
oh, really?
So chill. Well, the ones that I worked with, you know, I was in Tucson, Arizona. So maybe it's just a Tucson thing. But dude, I came out here, my first deal that I did, first contract that I wrote, the listing agent, dude, like bit my head off.
Really?
For just like I messed up on something, you know, on the contract. Instead of her being like, hey, can you correct the number here? She's like, hey, we don't do that here, blah, 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 this and that. It probably didn't help that I had a area code, you know, from Arizona and stuff. But dude, she like bit my head off. And I was like, the people out here are very like terrible. It's like,
oh man, you know, and that you run into that. Like I said, like, you know, when somebody gets into a deal, you know, they're like, I want it all on demand. I want that express checkout, right? I don't want to be waiting around for, and it's just, you know, and other agents have set that standard, like who don't do a lot of deals, right? They've got a lot of time on their hand. They don't have anything going. So, you know, a client texts them and stuff. Hey, bam, calls them. We're here, right? Well, I've got many clients that I work with. You know, it's an actual business, right? So scheduling and things like that. I mean, everything is, you know, done a certain way. I'm like, look, you know, sometimes you may not hear from me, you know, within 20 or 30 minutes, but, you know, I'm not an agent that's like on demand because I don't have stuff going.
I mean, there's always
a whole business going here. So
absolutely. So, okay. So you've obviously, you know, your business has been awesome. Building it, still building it, all of that stuff. So, dude, what would you say, like, if you were just to kind of estimate, you know, obviously your business has been built heavily on referrals, which is awesome. You know, based on that, and then you're also very big believer on social media. Like, how much percentage-wise would you say you get your business from, whether it's social media versus referrals? Like, what do you think that split is?
Oh, I would say, man, that's like 60% social.
Cool.
Just because it's, you know, friends of friends, family friends, they see me on social and pretty much everybody reaches out to me that way.
That's cool.
Send me a DM, they hit me on the DM. And you know, the like somebody calling me, referring is like my inner family. Like, hey, your cousin, they want to sell, stuff like that. But everything's social media because that's where I just try and drive it to. That is, you know. Social media died tomorrow. I'd be screwed.
Yeah, I know, dude, right? Isn't that crazy?
I'd be screwed.
So I try not to think of that, you know?
I won't even lie.
Well, we got to build up that email database.
100%.
Dude, you know what's crazy is like you said it, and I think you hit it, was like that, some of your business, even though you get referrals, the first stop that they make is your social media, right? It's like, it's cool because it's like the funnel, right? Where the sales funnel where you're like, hey, people are coming in from the top and they're flooding in from maybe referrals, you know, but then they go to your social media and it's like, they're like getting nurtured now. Cause now they're probably doing like an endless scroll thing. They're seeing that it never ends. And you've been the real estate guy, 2023, 2024, 2022. And it's like, they'll never reach the end.
I know, they're just
feed,
like,
you know
where
what I mean?
is this?
And that's how it is. That's why I was like, when I switched into this role of media, you know, I'm like, I have my real estate license, but I'm like, my main focus has been this media company, you know, building this. And it's like, I'm going to get to a point where I'm like, it's an endless scroll of we're the video people. Like we are your marketing team, you know, this is all we do. We're the experts in this field. And so, and we're going to learn as we go, you know, like I'm going to look back 2 years from now and the content doesn't look as good as it does now, you know, because it's like we're getting better.
100%.
And so, but yeah, dude, it's like, it's such a valuable thing. I have had so many people, just like you said, that were either referrals, then they go straight to our socials or our website. And because even my website kind of was built in a way, and we're rebuilding it right now, but it's built in a way where it's like it showcases what we do, you know?
Yes.
And I wanted to feel like, one, like they're missing out if they don't work with us, you know?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like, hey, like, look, you're going to spend some money to work with us, but the results you're going to get, they're going to be so worth it. Like, you know, when sometimes you invest into something, you're like, oh, is it going to be good? You know, is it like you go to a restaurant that you never tried before and you're like, paying over $100, $200, you're like, is it going to be good? You know? And then you're wowed, you know? But the thing with us is like, it's like, I think they understand that, hey, it's going to be good.
Oh yeah.
As soon as like, they're like, no, we've had some people like, no, we trust you. Like, I trust you. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, great. Well, I mean, we're going to kick this out. You know, we're going to kill this video.
That's the same. You know, we just did a video together for a listing I've got, big one. And I was like, hey, let's knock this out.
Yeah.
Do my intro.
Before we go into that, I'll interrupt you because that was actually one of my questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you recently invested, like, get this, dude. A lot of people don't understand this. Like, you recently invested over $1,000 into a listing that you had us come out to do media on. Was it worth it?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I knew, you know, it was over an hour drive for me, you know, and I was like, look, they're going to knock it out of the park, right? I'm going to show up, you know. You kind of felt like, I felt like an actor that day. I was like, you know what? I'm going to show up. These guys are going to get me camera ready. We crushed it. Intro, middle, outro, you know, like you said, $1,000. And I left. I said, hey, y'all do the rest. You got it. Take care of it. And I was like, I know that video is going to come out. Just an absolute banger, if you want to say. And it did. It was 100% worth it. I mean, because you want to invest that into your business, you know? Yeah. So when I, you know, partner with you guys, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Like, I want to put the best thing out there. So doing a video that way, 100% worth it. It was all that and then some.
Dude, that's
awesome. And then they're fun to make.
Yeah. Dude, that was sick. Because we even did like a little behind the scenes.
Yes.
Dude, we'll have to throw that in there.
And that when, you know, I posted that on my social, people loved it. They loved it. They ate that thing up in just a couple of hours.
Dude, that's awesome.
So I love, you know, doing that. And, you know, even just to touch on that part, right, people are like, hey, you know, real estate agents, they get paid a lot of money.
Yep.
Which is a misconception, right? I think seen a stat out there that like the average agent makes 40-something thousand a year.
Dude, that's crazy.
You know, and people
it's
are like
nothing, dude.
Telling my wife that, they're like, what are you talking about? That's not true. No way. Yep. I said, yes, it is. And I said, it's the best ones that invest the most into it because people don't, you know, oh, you're going to make this much off a listing. But, you know, for an agent, it's, you know, a calculated risk that they've got to put in where they're spending $1,000 of their own money up front on videos. And then, you know, could be another 1,000 or so on just marketing and things like that. You know, if it needs to be new signage or whatever, out of your own pocket, you want the deal to sell and all that stuff. You want it to be sold. There's not a guarantee there. So agents are always taking that risk of footing their own money, never knowing that if this could sell, something could happen, seller could change their mind.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Dude, that's crazy. Dude, okay, so what's the craziest real estate story?
Oh, man, stop.
Yeah, dude,
I got a bunch.
Tell me like the craziest,
know.
Like, you're like, what just happened, you know? Like I want to know a story like that.
Like a short, quick one was actually showing a property over here to a friend of mine. It was her and her mom over here in Fort Worth. And, you know, we're showing this house. It's in the historic district. And, you know, we get done. First of all, can't get into the house.
No way.
Combo, don't work. You check the windows, things like they don't work. We get into the house. The neighbor comes out, little sweet old lady. She starts talking in Spanish to my client. And, my friend, she was like, hey, her son, he wants to buy a house. I said, score. This is a real estate agent's dream. You show a house and you got the neighbor come out and they're going to throw you some business. I said, this is great. I said, I just hit the Holy Grail. I said, you tell her, name a time and place. Here's my card. And they start talking and like, I see like these eyebrows and stuff. And I was like, what's the deal? And she's like, well, she said that her son can't be within like 500 feet of a school or a park.
Oh no.
And I was like, and you know, at the time you're not, I'm like, okay, that's, didn't like him or something.
Yeah,
like,
it's not.
And she's like, yeah, no, he can't do that. He just got out of prison. And then the lady, she's like, you can help him? I was like in my mind, I was like, can I get that card back real fast? And I was like, just tell her I'll call her later.
Yeah. That
was one of the craziest ones. And then, you know, the other one is some of the ones that you never expect, like doing this really big acreage ranch deal that I had out in West Texas. You know, it's 90 plus acres or so. On those deals, so much encompasses those.
Yeah.
And we're in the deal. We're, you know, 3 weeks in and I'm like, man, this is going good. This is like, you know, these big deals take a while. And the other agent, he calls me. He's like, hey, man, just want to let you know, the seller just informed me that on the west side of the property, there's some dead bodies over there.
No.
The uncles are buried there. And I said, you got to be kidding. It wasn't that nice. I was like, 3 weeks in, you're going to let me know that there's dead bodies on the west side of the property? He said, you think your guy's going to be okay with that? I said, I'll have to check, but I don't know. So, you know, it turns out they were, what he said, buried under the mobile home in the west side of the property because there's multiple structures on this property.
Yeah.
This has got to go through the county judge because, you know, they filed documents throughout the transaction. Granted, this deal took 5 months. 5 months. And comes to, you know, turns out there's no dead bodies there. The guy's trying to like get out of the sale. He's like doing, so the seller, he put those there, or he said he did, and then he files this official document with the state and the county saying, this is all a cemetery now. I was like, you get into some of these deals and you're like, what are you talking about? This is a cemetery.
Bro.
He said, in his little affidavit, he said, well, no bodies there, but I spread the ashes all over this entire property. And he was trying to claim that it would be a cemetery. So, of course, this delays this deal by 2 months. You know, it was first dead bodies. Now it's ashes all over the property, sprinkled in, you know, around the living room and around the property itself, in the oak tree. And finally, the judge and all these lawyers, they're like, look, we're going to have to dismiss this. And that was on their side, that was a nasty deal, but we got it done. And 5 months, you know, long of a deal, turned out to be one of the best. I mean, my client got that thing he walked in with $200,000 worth of equity.
Jeez, dude.
We got that thing $500,000 under list, but he got $200,000 worth of equity out of it. It took 5 months, but it was damn worth it.
He was probably super happy.
Yeah, it's just you don't know what to think when like people are throwing out dead people.
Yeah.
During a deal.
Yeah, you're like, what?
You're like, what do you mean there's dead folks? And then you're spreading ashes everywhere.
Yeah.
I was like, only in West Texas,
bro,
in the boonies.
Could that guy have gotten sued? Seller? Is
it a divorce situation? The wife is going to sue him. She's going to take him for everything, is what I was told.
That's crazy, dude.
So, and on the other side, I mean, I felt bad for the listing agent. He's a nice guy, a real nice guy. He had that deal on the market for a year. So he had been dealing with these people for a year. So those are just some of the stories that you run into of, hey, try to help my recently let out prison son find a home.
Yeah.
Can't be within 500 yards of a school and a playground because of God knows what.
Yeah.
And then you got dead people on your real estate deals.
Bro.
There's a ton. I run into stuff all the time. It's crazy.
Wild, dude, it's wild. Okay, so one of the things that, you know, kind of makes me think about as you've shared these crazy stories is like a lot of people when they go into business, whatever business it is,
yeah,
like the biggest thing you have to have is like your foundation for your business has to be a strong mindset, right? It's like if you have the right mindset, like right now I'm in the middle of doing 75 hard, right? Which is like 2 workouts a day. They have to be 45 minutes each.
Yep.
You have to drink a gallon of water every day. You have to read 10 pages of a leadership book every day. You have to take a progress picture every day, and you have to follow a diet. Like,
Dang.
and you can't break them. If you break any of those, you start all over, kind of deal. So it's like you go back to day one. But
You're
it's
better
crazy.
than me. I'm thinking about getting Whataburger after this.
What's crazy though is like the wild thing about it was like I'm like at day 60 something. I'm almost a week away,
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm like, dude, the reason I've been able to do it is like, I think it's because of my mindset. It took me almost a month to prepare because I started on February 1st. It took me almost a month to prepare mentally and just be like, okay, sometimes I'm going to work long days.
Yep.
What is that going to look like? Like today, for example, we started at 8:30. I mean, we started earlier because we had to drive out, left the house before 7, and to go to work. Some people are like, I'm leaving the house before 7 to go to the gym. I'm like, shut up, dude. Like
you're not. Yeah.
I was up at 5, we did the gym, but tonight I'm going to shoot a personal listing for a Twilight, and it's like, dude, I'm going to get home like at 8:30, it's like, it's going to be kind of late. So I'm like, that's a long day. So how do I do the workout? Like the second workout is I have to do it. I don't want to do it and then the other caveat too is like with the 2 workouts, one of them has to be outside. Like no matter what the weather is like. So there was days, bro, where I was running in that 5-degree weather when it hit.
See?
And I hate running in the cold,
Again,
dude.
Better than me.
Bro, but it was like, I was like, I'm only doing it because I made up my mind, And I was like, I'm wearing 2 layers, multiple layers, double sweats, all that stuff.
Dang,
but
dude.
it was like this whole thing of like having the right mindset, dude. Like a lot of people fail because they never like had a robust mindset. They never had a strong mindset knowing that they were going to hit some hard times. And it's like, what is their response going to be to those hard times? So obviously real estate, it's a grind. We just mentioned it earlier.
Yes,
it's up and downs, dude. It's a roller coaster, bro. But so like share with me, bro, share with us what maybe your lowest moment in real estate, in your real estate career was and how you got out of it. I want people to like know that even people that are like successful, and doing well, like we still hit hard times, but it's like how we respond to those hard times, right?
Yeah.
That makes us successful. So
I would probably say it was the first year, like I said, I got my license within 60 days.
Yeah.
I had 2 under contract. I was like, okay, this is nice.
It's
And,
good.
People were praising me. They're like, hey, new agents already got 2 under contract already. And like I said, I didn't close my next one until late that year, October, November.
Yeah.
So that was a grind of 6-7 months of there's no business coming in.
Yeah.
You wake up every day. The broker, nobody, they don't give you any leads.
Yeah.
Mine didn't.
Yeah.
Right. So they're not giving me leads saying, hey, here's some business, here's some cold calls and things like that. It was just, you wake up, you go find your business.
Yeah.
You wake up, you go do things to find business.
Yeah.
And during that time, I was like, okay, like I'm not making any money for 6-7 months.
Yeah.
Like no paycheck whatsoever, 0 deposits in that Chase Bank. And that was pretty low. And then, I had gotten that sale. And then after that, it's until the next year, 2020, I was like, man, it's, a couple months went by. I've only sold 3 houses in my first year and a couple months of being in this. Yeah. And you start to question, what is this? Because, before I started, my mindset was there's no plan B. Yeah. Right. It's you do it, you be successful at it. Yeah. And that's it. Right. Because I didn't have a fallback because I wasn't a terrible employee at the other company. I just didn't like being an employee. Yeah. I didn't like watching, the big boss of my department, this dude just walked around doing this with his watch and his mug the whole time, walk and circle the entire, his rollie. And he'd walk with his mug once in the morning, once in the afternoon, once before we all left. And he would just kind of look, and this dude made $250,000 a year. And I was like, what is he doing to get that salary? Yeah. And I'm over here like, 7 to 5, just not even getting a break really. Yeah. I get 15 minutes to go to the lobby, look outside and see the daylight and be like, all right, there is a sun. Yeah. Go back up, get hard at work. And I was like, I don't ever want to do that again. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be an employee. I come from a family of, my dad, my brother, they are self-employed. Mm-hmm. And I knew that lifestyle growing up, not realtors, they're just blue collar dudes. Yeah. I was like, the employee stuff, I don't want to do it. I'm done with that. I'm done being somebody's employee. And so when I went into real estate, I said, it has to work. Yeah. It has to. I gave no plan B whatsoever. Even though I sold 3 deals the first year, I was like, okay, well, I better focus up, change something different, and find a way. Because I've got my wife that's like, hey, you know, I know you can do it. And you know, it's a letdown if I don't dedicate every day, every hour to her, who believed in me and said, hey, take that leap, right? If you don't make money with, you know, so many months, that's okay. So Dude. It's a mindset to be in this game. Yeah, that's awesome. You know, you got to have it, and even now more than I think my first year. Yeah, so I've got to have it changed. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Because now you have a family.
Dude, I love it. Yeah, I love that, dude. I mean, I think you hit so many awesome points there. So, okay, as we kind of let's land this plane, you know. So, I kind of wanted to, as we close this, I wanted to put you in a position of like because I want you to talk to yourself from 6 years ago, right? Before you started real estate.
Oh, yeah.
But also like share it from a perspective of like even other people that are listening to you, you know, as they're listening to this podcast that are maybe scared to do the thing that they know they're supposed to do, right? They're scared. Maybe they're in the position that you were 6 years ago, right before you left that corporate job, you know, right out of college, and you were there for a year and you're like, this just isn't it. But I don't know what is it, you know? Yeah. And it's like you're in this position where you're about to take this leap of faith and it pays off, you know? And so what would you tell yourself, you know, 6 years ago? And then just even others are listening, maybe in that same position, like what would you share with them?
I would think the first thing that comes to mind is just the phrase, you let go and you let God, right? Because being in this business, it brought me closer to God. Because mindset is first, you know, that people look at like, you got to have a strong mindset to be in this game. But then I always say, you know, you got to have your faith, right? Because during a lot of those times, and even COVID and things like that, where people are like, the world's shutting down. How am I going to make money? How am I going to sell real estate? And, you know, I always just went back to my faith of, you know, God brought me here. I'm exactly where I need to be. I don't have to worry about anything, right? I just need to wake up, look myself in the mirror and say, you know what? God woke me up today. I'm exactly where I need to be. If I put in the work now, he'll take care of the rest. So that's what I've relied on a bunch through my career of, you know, you'll have deals that fall through. You'll have, you know, things like that pop up. And I just say, look, yes, this deal fell through. Yes, this client, they didn't enjoy everything about that transaction. But, you know, God had already planned all this out, right? I just need to wake up, best foot forward, and go about it that way. So I was really deeply rooted in my faith to get me through the hard times and everything like that. And just to people who are like scared of maybe they're about to start a business or things like that, you know, you're going to have so much regret if you don't. Because if I never would have started my business, I would still just be probably jumping job to job and things like that. And, you know, telling myself when I first got into this game, I would look back and just say, you know, keep at it, keep waking up, you know, be very strategic with your day. Don't waste any hours. Don't waste any time. Because as a new agent, you wake up and you're like, hey, what do I do? Right? Like just be strategic, right? And be purposeful with your time. And then obviously take care of yourself, your faith and things like that. Because now I'm in a position where my faith has gotten me, I believe, to where I'm at now. And now I'm in a position to change my family's life, my kids' life. That's good. You know, because now I'm all about just legacy. Right? I want to, my goal in real estate is not to be an agent for 30 years. Like it's to pivot, you know, own assets, pass those to my kids. They can pass those to their kids and they live a good life now. That's the goal. I'm not looking to be in this thing for selling properties for 30 years to just people. I'll do it, right? But that's not the goal. That's not the end goal. So I think people you got to find what your why is, right? And at first that was, you know, hard to find, like, okay, I'm going to get into this because I just want to have a better job. I don't want to be an employee. I want to be my own boss. And then you do that, you take that leap, and then it just starts to drive you into a big why. And, you know, like mine is now, is just leaving a legacy for my wife, my kids, and their kids.
Yeah.
You know, I want the strong line to be good forever.
That's awesome.
So I would just tell people, go for it. And I even knew, I said, what's the worst that can happen, right? I get into real estate. I don't do good at it. I suck. You know, people are like, you're terrible.
Yeah.
And I just go back and start at plan 1.
Yeah.
Right? Like what, ground zero. Yeah. So I think people who think about it too much, and that's what I tell new agents right now. They're like, what, you just jumped into it? I said, I went in on a Friday to that corporate job. I woke up, gut feeling was like, it's not it, man. I went in, I didn't tell nobody, clocked in, wrote an email to HR, left the badge, I was out. Some people will say that's an awful employee. Yeah, you may be right. But the culture was so bad that I was like, I'm not giving a 2 weeks notice, nothing.
Yeah.
I was out, went back home. I already had my license for like 2 weeks, no business. And I just took that leap of faith. I said, okay, I had this gut feeling. This is what God wants me to do.
Yeah.
It may be scary to some other people, like you just jumping into a business. You have no like clients whatsoever. But I knew for me, that's how I had to do it. Like other agents, they do part-time, which is great and stuff like that. But I tell new agents, if you really want to be successful in this, just jump into it full steam ahead, because you can't have plan B. Yeah. Right. And I knew that for me and my personality, if I had a plan B, I wouldn't be all in. Yeah. So no plan B, back up against the wall, what I wanted to do with my life. Yeah. I had to go all in. Yeah. So that's what I did.
Absolutely, man. I love that. I feel like, dude, I feel like there's so many great points there. There's this like misconception about how, even as you were talking about just even your faith and stuff like that, where I know a lot of people that, are believers and all that stuff, they have faith, but they, there's like this misconstrued way of thinking where it's like, hey, if it's not easy, then it must not be God. And so I'm not going to do it. And I'm like,
oh, that's crazy.
I'm like, no. Like sometimes it's gonna be tough. Like sometimes there's gonna be some sweat on your brow, and that's okay. Like it's part of it, But then it was God when you get those crazy deals that come your way, and you're like, I had nothing to do with that. All I did was say yes, and all I did was like, okay, I'm gonna go. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna do it, bro. Like I feel like that's where I'm like, I know that I'm supposed to be. I know that I'm at, in the same place where God has called me to be right in this very moment. And so it's just crazy, bro, to hear just those testimonies, that you've been through. And I hope that as people are listening to this are encouraged by that, it's like, hey, it's like the mindset is having that belief in your mind, convincing yourself that, hey, there's probably something that's going to be tough that I'm going to have to deal with. There's probably some tough conversations that I'm going to have. There's probably some awkward conversations I'm going to have with clients, with people. But once I get through that, like, it's okay. Like I have the mindset that once it does show up, like we're going to get through it and it's going to be a great conversation. More often than not, those conversations that we've had or those situations that come up that were tough situations that can make or break a business for at times, like were the thing that made me stronger, it made me a better person, a more confident leader. And so just crazy stuff, dude. Obviously you have crazy stories, but yeah.
Yeah. And it's just the people, I think, that when they want to start a business, they just overanalyze, right? They try to plan everything out. They try to do all this. So they overanalyze and they just get fearful. I mean, because, when I got into it in 2019, I was kind of like a little kid where they're just fearless. They have they don't know that if they, run down the stairs, they can fall and break their arm, right? They're just fearless. So that's kind of how I went into it in 2019 is just, I didn't think about like everything that could go wrong. Because obviously if I knew what I knew now, like all these bad deals that went through or bad clients or just things that come about being a business owner, you'd be like, I don't want any part of that. Yeah. Right. But you just kind of got to go into it like, what am I doing it for? Right. There's a bigger purpose here. And you just got to lean, not on your own understanding, but his, right? God, because he's going to direct you to where you need to be. Yeah. And so that is what I lean on the most,
Dude, I love that. Dude, last question for you, bro. What are your predictions for the real estate market?
Oh, man.
In 2025, dude.
In 2025.
We're already Q2, what are you thinking?
Gosh, with the news that's coming out lately, you got tariffs and all that stuff. And, you kind of see the volatility with rates and things like that. I would think that rates we would hope would kind of start to inch down a little bit, But I tell people, right? They're like, hey, when are rates coming back to 3%? I'm like, I don't know if I'll be alive. I'm not sure. Right? Because that was a golden era of real estate. And people, when you're in the time, you don't know it. And I just tell people now, I said, you have opportunity now though, right? I know rates are higher, but on the daily and the weekly, I'm getting buyers into homes under list. You know, we're getting a bunch of concessions back. Sellers are more willing to work. It's not 2020. I think people forget about that, where I would show homes, and as soon as we left, I said, okay, starting price is $400,000. How much you want to go up? That's what it was, because people want to go back to that time. I said, I don't know if you really do. I don't think you do, because it was so competitive. I mean,
so bad, dude.
I bought a house during that time. I went up against 30 offers. Obviously, we won. It was painful because you had to go thousands and thousands and thousands above, right? So I tell people for 2025, I mean, yes, take what it is. The rates, they are where they are, you know, but you can find opportunities in the market to, you know, find a deal, you know, find homes that...
There's new construction homes that offer 4 or 5%.
That's what I tell people too. I was like, if you're open, especially in our area on the outskirts, you can go find a new home, 3, 4, 5% interest rates. They're throwing, I do a lot of new builds. Hey, we'll give you a fridge, washer, dryer, blinds.
Closing costs will be covered.
Yeah, we'll throw another $20K on that, you know. Rolls Royce is parked for you in the, I'm just saying.
Just
it's
about,
like,
dude. I mean,
there's opportunity in every market. I mean, back in 2020, you get that low rate, but you get a super, super competitive market. So I think people just got to look at this year as, you know, the rates may go down a little bit. I wouldn't expect something crazy. But just know that you can go out there and find a deal, because we're doing it every week for people. And after that deal, they're like, man, it was true what you said back in your reel a month ago. Like, we were able to like get a deal exactly what we wanted and stuff like that. So I think the market's going to be, now I do think if rates drop, you know, what we're in the mid 6s, high 6s or something right now, if they drop, I think a point, you know, into like, I think if people see rates with a 5 in front of it, there's so much pent up demand. I see it everywhere. It's going to be nuts. So I tell people, look, it's quiet right now. Just slide in there and get you a deal. Right? Because once the rates go down, I don't know, we're going to be back in the wild west.
It's going to be crazy.
It'll be Fort Worth all crazy.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah, man.
Dude, I love that, bro. Well, Russell, thanks for being on the show today, dude. Seriously, we'll have to have you back again. You know, I'm sure there's a lot more we can talk about.
Oh, absolutely. We'll get into it, man. I appreciate you having me.
Dude,
this was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one, dude. Thanks, you, bro.
Man. Yeah.
Sweet.